I'd like to welcome you to 3CI training video series. During this series, we'll be talking about configuring AAA on a Cisco router. Let's begin with talking about configuring AAA using the local user database. Now, as with any network, unauthorized access to the network creates the potential for network intruders to gain access to sensitive network equipment and services. Now, Cisco provides the AAA architect provides a means to address this threat through a systematic, scalable access security. And so, when we talk about using or configuring AAA, AAA stands for Authentication, Authorization, Accounting, and Auditing. Now, authentication is the process by which users and administrators prove that they are who they claim to be. So this could be such as a username and password, token ring, or challenges and responses. Now, when we refer to authorization, we're talking about what are they authorized to do. So after the user or the administrator has been authenticated, the authorization service are used to decide which resources he's allowed to access, as well as which operations they may perform. So if they have command exact privileges, they'll be able to do those types of command. Now, the last part of the AAA deals with accounting and auditing. So it does, not only can I say, hey, you're authorized to do this, or you've been authenticated to do this, you're authorized to do this, but I'm also going to have an auditing trail of exactly what you did and how long you did it. So, after being authenticated and authorized, the users or the administrators begin to access the resources. It's the role of the administrator and it's the role of the accounting and the auditing to record what the user or administrator actually did with this access. Using AAA to configure local user database authentication. Now, this is generally only going to be a three-step process. If I'm going to do a complete AAA setup, and where I'm going to include authentication, authorization, and accounting, generally we're going to follow, or we will follow 6 steps. Now, for a complete setup, these are the steps that we'll follow. First thing we're going to do is secure access to the privileged exec mode. In there, we're going to be controlling things like the console, VTY, and telnet. The next step would be to enable the AAA process. Now, this is done using the AAA-model command within the global configuration, and this enables the AAA process. Now, the next step is going to be configure AAA authentication list, and in this list we're going to define either we're going to use local, we're going to use a default list, we'll use the AAA services such as ACS. And then the next step, we're going to configure authorization. We're going to configure what these users, once they authenticate, what they're authorized to do. And then we're going to configure accounting. And this accounting is going to give us a list or times that this user logged in and what tasks that he performed. And then the last step would be to verify our configurations. Now, let's begin by going to our router, and on our router we'll sit there and we'll enter the basic commands just to get authentication going for our Con 0. So the first step would be I'd have to go to my router, log in, and get to the global configuration. Now, to go to global configuration, I'll just type the command config T. And here this moves me to the global configuration mode. Now, the next step would be to issue the AAA new model command. Now, just a fact of doing this command could inadvertently lock you out of your Cisco router. So be very careful in enabling this command. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a username. In here we'll use the username command. Username, I'll just say Bill space password Cisco. Then we'll hit enter. Now, the next step would be to sit there and go to a line interface or to invoke the login services. So from here I'm going to go to I'm going to go to the line Con 0. And here I'm going to sit there and I'm going to configure a password here. So I'll do password password Cisco, and then I'll say I'm going to evoke login local. Now what this command is doing is actually telling it to log in local using their local user database. So what I'll do is I'll hit enter. It doesn't like this command, so let's see what I've done wrong here. So let's just use a question mark here. So I'll have to do an authentication local. Now in here it's telling me I can't do it local. Well, because it couldn't find that, so I'll have to come back and define that local name in here. So in here I'll use the AAA authentication login, and then we'll just use keyword default, and then we'll give it a name of local. Now if I do a control Z, we'll do a show run here real quick and verify that our commands are in here. As you can see, I've got my AAA authentication login default local. I've got my username. We've got our username Bill, and if you noticed here though, we don't see anything on here. Oh, excuse me. Let me do show run again. I sat there and hit the incorrect key. We'll go down, and now we can see line con 0 has the login authentication local. Now that local is going to tie it in with the local database. So let's go ahead and verify this and make sure it works. So I'll hit enable. It's going to prompt me for a username, Bill, and then I'll provide the password. Now to get back into global configuration, I'll supply that password, and now we're back in. So now that I've verified it, I can go ahead and write this to memory. Now there'll be a couple ways we can do this. I can do copy run start, or for me I just like to do WR, write mem.
Thank you for using 3CI training. I hope this video was very informative for you, and I hope to see you again in the future.